Good evening, family. Welcome. Happy Passover to the children of Israel. Glory and honor to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and to Messiah Yahweh Shah, the Lamb of the Passover. Glory and honor to Father. Glory and honor to Yahweh Shah. Greetings to 12 awakening tribes that also include our brothers and sisters grafted into the olive tree. Greetings to the chat, Brother Castle King, Sister Jillian. Greetings to all of you. I wanted the current event today, V-Dash, welcome. The current event today is Passover. And I wanted to show from the scriptures why today is Passover. I've seen a number of people posting Passover beginning on April 14th. And let me ask here, right now, let me ask the chat a question. If today is the full moon, why is 2 weeks from now not the Passover? If today is the full moon, and I think we observed the full moon, why is April 14th not the Passover? What would we expect to take place on April 14th? That's the second part of the question. So the first part is, why, if today's the full moon, why? That's right. It's off the full moon cycle, because if the full moon's today, 2 weeks from now is not a full moon. Well, good answer, J House. We're going to show that from the scriptures. But if today is the full moon, which will be today, the 15th day of the month, in 2 more weeks, it'd be the 30th day of the month. And then you'll have the first of the month, right? So that would be the second month. Now, let's look at these things in the scriptures. First off, let's look at, with respect to the Passover. Now, we must, first let's understand that the new moon and the feasts are two separate things. What they have in common is that there is, in the days of Israel, there was a sacrifice being made. Okay, and let's look at that in Second Chronicles chapter 4, Second Chronicles chapter 2, Second Chronicles chapter 2, Second Chronicles chapter 2, when Solomon was going to make the temple. Second Chronicles chapter 2, I'm going to begin at verse 4. Second Chronicles chapter 2, verse 4. Solomon is making a declaration that he's going to build what we know as the temple, the first temple in Israel. Okay, so this Second Chronicles, and I'm going to ask you if you have available, either, especially online. In fact, let me pull mine up. If you have online, if you have a concordance available. Now, concordance is simply every word in the King James Bible that is, and it's translated into either, it's translated in English, but the original is either Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic. Most of the Old Testament is Hebrew. Most of the New Testament is Greek, with some exceptions. And then in Daniel, you have some Aramaic, but it's mostly Hebrew. So if you have a concordance, it's going to be important, because this is where we're going to need definitions from the Hebrew on certain words. But here in Second Chronicles chapter 2, verse 4, it says, Solomon says, "Behold, I build an house to the name of Yahweh, my Most High, to dedicate it to him, and to burn before him sweet incense, and for the continual showbread," because we knew that every day they had to put out 12 loaves of bread called showbread, "and for the burnt offerings morning and evening." So every morning and every evening they did a sacrifice in Israel. On the Sabbaths, they did a sacrifice. And on the new moons, they did a sacrifice. And on the solemn feasts, they did sacrifices. So the days of these sacrifices were the Sabbaths, the new moons, and the solemn feasts. I want to make sure we got that. Everybody got that. So that the new moons are different from the solemn feasts. Okay, you have feasts, and you have new moons. Now, because of the way the moon phases, there could be days where they fall on the same day, but they're two separate things. Okay, so there's solemn feasts and there's new moons. Okay, now let's get another witness to this where we're going to use our concordance. I want you, in fact, let me pull mine up now. I'm going to pull mine up so that I have mine up and we are all looking at this together so that I'm not just making stuff up and you guys can be witnesses. Okay, so first let me pull up my concordance. I have it in my computer and I have it in my phone too, but I have it in my computer. So I'm going to look at this here. Okay, I'm going to go to Psalms 81. Psalms 81. Okay, Psalms 81. Let's go there. And I'd like, if you can, at least one or two people, because in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established. In the mouth of two or three witnesses. So that includes two or three witnesses from the bird. And of course, I'd like y'all to be witnesses as to what we're looking at. Because I don't want nobody to say that raw Hebrew said this. No, I want you to see that the word says it. Thank you, Castle King. That's my second witness. Anybody else got one? Be good. Okay, more the merrier. But now let's look at Psalms 81. And I'm going to read verse 3 and 4. Okay, Psalms 81, verse 3 and 4. So far, we see that new moons and feasts are two separate events. Everybody got that? New moons and feasts are two separate events. Okay, so now Psalms 81, verses 3 and 4 is our second witness here. And this is going to tell us a little more. Okay. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon. Okay. So the trumpet, so you got a sacrifice on the new moon and you got a trumpet call on the new moon. But it says also in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. Now, if somebody's reading this in English, you could easily get confused and say, see, the new moon is the feast day. But no, if you were to look up new moon in your concordance, and I'm glad, Castle King, you got new moon is H2320. That is the Hebrew. Whenever it's a Hebrew word, it starts with H. When it's a Greek word, it starts with G. This is H2320. Castle King, can you find that? Can anybody else find it? I want more witnesses, the better. I just want to make sure y'all got it. Okay. So, okay. Thank you. 2320. So I see it says Kadesh, the new moon, a month. So the new moon is the beginning of a month. Do you bear witness to that, Castle King? Am I making that up? Or is that what it says? So the new moon is the beginning of a month. Okay. So the first of the month is the new moon. Okay. Now, what about the feast? Okay, look where it says in the time, and the word is appointed. The word appointed is this is real important. H3677. That's the word for appointed in Psalms 81, verse 3. And I will tell you, it's only used twice in the entire Bible. That is H3677, which is why it's important and why we know. So now, what is that word? I say it looks like it says kasa, or that's how we say it in ancient Hebrew, or kase. Do you see that, Castle King? H3677. Brother Lonnie, do you see that? H3677. It says kase. And the meaning of that word is taken from 3680, meaning fullness or the full moon. That is its festival time. Everybody got that? So the time appointed in the solemn feast is the full moon. But then you have also the new moon. So you have full moon and new moon. And again, I said that word appointed, now the word English appointed is many times. I mean, there's a lot of appointed. But for this particular translation from H3677, the only other place that particular word is in Proverbs. That's Proverbs me see whichever verse is that. Proverbs 7. Proverbs chapter 7. Proverbs chapter 7, verse 20. It's the woman that's trying to entice the man into adultery, and she uses this word. Look at this now. This is Proverbs, and I'd like to read the context of it. Proverbs chapter 7. I'm going to, let me start at verse 13, just for the context, okay? Let's see. Verse 13 down to verse 20. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me. This day have I paid my vow. Therefore came I forth to meet thee, diligently to seek thy face, and I have found thee. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the goodman is not at home. He is gone a long journey. He hath taken a bag of money with him, and will come home at the day appointed. At the day appointed. And that, again, is the same word, meaning he will come home at the full moon. So, the new moon is the beginning of a month. The full moon is the middle of a month, the feast day. Everybody got that? So the feast of Yahweh, that is the Passover, which is the feast of unleavened bread, and the feast of weeks, and the feast of tabernacles is at the new moon. Or not the moon, sorry. The full moon. They're at the full moon, okay? Now, let's look at Leviticus, where it talks about these feasts, okay? Let's look at Leviticus, where it talks about these feasts. Leviticus chapter 23. Now, I want to, because again, in fact, wait, let's go to Leviticus 23. I'm going to go back and go to another one. I'm going to go to Luke 2, and Luke eventually also, because I need to show you something. Okay, so now this is Leviticus chapter 23, okay? Leviticus chapter 23. Going to begin at verse 4, and I'm going to go from verse 4 down to verse 8. Okay, this is Leviticus chapter 23, from verse 4 to verse 8. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Okay, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is an holy convocation, and ye shall do no servile work therein. So, let me ask you this question, because people get it confused. Is the feast of Passover and the feast of unleavened bread two different feasts? Because one is the 14th day and one is the 15th day. Are they two different feasts? That's right. Thank you, Sister Jillian. Thank you, Brother Superstar. It's the same feast. Some people think it's two different ones. There's a bunch of people out here right now telling people that the 14th day of April is Passover. And then there's people saying there's more than 3 feasts because they count Feast of Tabernacle, Feast of Unleavened Bread, and Feast of Passover as 2 feasts. But let's look at Luke. Again, we use the scriptures and we try to use more than one, right? Because in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. So now you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread on the 15th day of the month, which we know is full moon. And we have the Feast of Passover on the 14th day, which is still close to full moon, is it not? Okay, we're going to bring it here. We're going to bring it home here real quick now. Hold on. Okay, this is Luke chapter 22. Thank you, Sister Jillian. I was looking for it. You already got it, my baby. All right. Luke chapter 22, verse 1. What does it say? Luke 22, 1. Now, the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. Okay. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. So it's the same feast, but there's two parts to the feast. And let me use where we are right now tonight as an example so that we can see this. Tonight is Wednesday night. 6 o'clock tonight, the Feast of Unleavened Bread began. This is the 15th day of the first month. Okay? Everybody got that? And the first day of the first month was the evening of the 18th of March. The evening of the 18th of March, which is really in biblical terms, the 19th of March. Because the evening and the morning are a day in the Bible. Okay? You could get that from Genesis chapter 1. You can get that Daniel chapter 8. Evening and morning is a day. Now, and this is the thing. 6 o'clock is the time because if you look at the equator, it's 6 to 6. Everything is basically 6 to 6. Okay. The day is 6 to 6 and the evening 6 to 6. And so it's a 12 hours each on the equator. If you live off the equator, it's off. Okay. But on the equator, it's 6 to 6. Now, at 6 o'clock this evening, I have 7:33 right now. The Feast of Unleavened Bread took place. Began. And we know that it's a Sabbath today, right? It says, you shall do no servile work therein. It's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Last night, the 14th day at 6 p.m. Are you with me so far? If tonight is the 15th day, last night at 6 p.m. was the 14th day. Everybody got me so far? Everybody with me so far? So last night at 6 began the Passover. Okay. Now, the Messiah told us, he showed us by example what time the lamb was slain on the Passover. How did he show us? It was Matthew chapter 27. Now, I'm not saying I can't be wrong, brothers. Certain brothers know what I'm talking about. I'm not, but I'm trying to show you from the scripture what this says now. Okay, now watch. This is Matthew chapter 27. Matthew 27. And I'm going to begin at verse 45. Okay, Matthew 27. Let's read 45 and 46. Okay, Matthew 27, 45 and 46. Now from the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice saying, Ali, Ali, lama sabachthani, that is to say, my most high, why hast thou forsaken me? Right? That's when he died. Okay, let me see. Okay, verse 50. And when Yahushua, when he had cried with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. So he died. In verse 50 and 51, let's read that. Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake and the rocks rent. So let me stop here. So Messiah died the 9th hour. Do we see that? I want to make sure we understand this. So there was darkness over the whole land for 3 hours. From the 6th hour, the Bible says, to the 9th hour. Messiah died at the 9th hour. At the same time he died, the veil of the temple was rent. Now, why was that? They were about to kill the Passover lamb. I want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Do you understand that? When Messiah yelled and died, he became the Passover lamb. And at the same time, they were going to kill a lamb, but the veil of the temple was rent, saying, that's not the lamb. The lamb was out here, outside the city, right? Now, what time is the 9th hour? See, in the Hebrew economy, the day is divided into 8 parts. There's the morning and evening. That's right, 3 o'clock. And you could Google that. 3 o'clock is the 9th hour. So the new day started last night at 6 o'clock. Passover started last night at 6. Today at 3, the lamb was slain. It's still Passover. Does that make sense, yo? Everybody got me. That makes sense. What throws some people off is that in Moses, it said, you shall kill the lamb at even. What's the problem with being at 6 o'clock? Because when we reach 6 o'clock tonight, it's not the 14th day anymore. It's the 15th day. So when it says evening, it means the last part of the day, which is 3 o'clock. And if we weren't sure, all you got to do is look at when was the Messiah crucified. I mean, because when he died, he is the Lamb of Yah. So he represents the Passover lamb. So at 3 o'clock, they would kill the lamb. At 6, it would be the 15th day. Okay, everybody got that? So, and the 15th day is a Shabbat, which is what the Bible says. They wanted to have him crucified and buried before Shabbat. That's why they break the other 2 guys' legs, because they didn't want him up there on the Passover Sabbath, on the Feast of Unleavened Bread Sabbath. They didn't want him up there. So that's why they went to break Messiah's legs, and they saw he was dead already. So they speared him in his side, and John testified that blood and water came out. So he died at 3. They took him down and buried him before 6, because at 6 was going to be a Shabbat. Everybody got that so far? Okay, so the full moon is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The day before that is the Passover, the 14th day of the month. Okay, 2 weeks ago, we knew that that was the first month of the year because it happened at the equinox. See, equinox tells you when springtime comes, because there's a spring equinox and there's a fall equinox. What does that mean? It means that's the 2 times in the year that's not on the equator, where there's exactly 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. That's the equinox. That's the sign of the beginning of spring in the spring, and it's the sign of the beginning of fall in the fall. This year, usually the first new moon after the equinox is the beginning of the year, but this year it fell on the equinox. And why? Because over the course of 7 years, it keeps going back, which is why we know next year the 12th new moon is going to be in February. When you start counting them from March 18th, and I would do that if I was y'all, count it and see it, and you're going to see that the 12th new moon is not going to be next March. It's going to be next February, which tells us we need to do what? Add a 30-day month. And that happens to be the 7th year after the last time we had to do it, which was during COVID in 2020. Okay. Okay, everybody got that so far? So tonight, right now, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and it's a Shabbat right now. And it's for 7 days. And then 8th day, that is next Wednesday, which is going to be the 8th, is a Shabbat. Now, this is why we mark it. It's very important that we mark the feast, but we can't really keep the feast because we're in our enemy's land. Okay? We're in our enemy's land. We can only keep the feast in the place appointed, which is the New Jerusalem. And we know we're in our enemy's land because we wanted to keep today as a Shabbat, and you working, what would you have to do? You'd have to ask your heathen boss for a day off. Then you'd have to ask him for a day off again next Wednesday. Okay? If we're in our own land, we don't need to ask nobody nothing. We just do it because it's our land, right? So, now, okay. So we got, y'all got us. Are y'all with it so far? Y'all understand where we at so far? I want to make sure I didn't lose y'all. Y'all got me so far? So far, today is the Passover. And this is the middle of the first month of the Hebrew year. Now, another mistake people make is they try to count the Gregorian calendar with the Hebrew calendar, and that's a mistake. Okay, that's a mistake because Gregorian calendar, April is not the first month of the year. In the Gregorian calendar, April is the fourth month of the year. So if you're going to look at the fourth month and think, oh, well, we should have did this in January. But the Bible tells us, and let's take a look at this, Exodus, where Moses was given this Passover. This is Exodus, it's either 12 or 14. I think it's 12. I'm going to look at 12. Yes, this is it right here. So I'm going to read, this is Exodus 12 from verse 1 to verse 6. Exodus 12, actually from 1 to 7. Exodus 12 from 1 to 7. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So whatever month he instituted the Passover, that's the first month of the year. It's not January. Now let's keep reading. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, that's the 10th day of the first month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out of the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month. And the whole congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And this is where people confuse. When is the evening? Well, it's before the 15th day. And the 15th day is 6 o'clock. And Messiah was just showing us he gave up the ghost in the 9th hour. And at that same 9th hour, they were about to kill the lamb. And the veil was ripped open. Okay? Everybody see that? So 3 o'clock is when they kill the lamb. They take it out the 10th day of the first month, which is spring. And then they kill it on the 14th day at 3 o'clock. Okay? Everybody got that? Okay? So here, they killed the lamb. That was Messiah. Messiah, I think we all understand. I make sure that Messiah is the lamb. That ram is representing Messiah. And the blood over the doorpost is representing his blood that protects us from the destroying angels. Okay? So the springtime, which really makes more common sense, doesn't it? When the buds come on the trees and the weather changes to starts getting warmer, in the spring, everything is new and refreshed. January is literally the middle of winter. This makes sense. But that's when pagans celebrate their new year in the middle of winter, okay? Because they worship the sun. And they're praying that the sun comes back. That's really part of what they did. So the shortest day of the calendar year is the 20th of December. The longest day of the calendar year is June 20th. So you have equinox in around April 20th. This year was the 18th. You have equinox in September 20th, which is 6 months later. Then you have what they call a summer solstice, where it's the longest day of the year. It's around June 20th. And then you have the shortest day of the year, December 20th, 6 months apart. Always 6 months apart. So there's 4 seasons, and you have 4 things going on. 2 equinox, 2 solstice. A short one and a long one. Equinox, 12 hours. Okay? So the spring equinox marks when the beginning of the spring is, which marks for us when the beginning of the year is. Okay. And this is where you could actually use your calendar, because I go into what AccuWeather, and it tells me when the sunrise and sunset is. And when they're the same, you know it's equinox. Does that make sense, y'all? And you're going to see the same thing in the fall. When the fall comes, you'll know it because it'll be the same number of hours a day, same night. Now, if you look at it right now, you're going to see more daylight hours now because we passed equinox. The days start getting longer until they get to the longest day, which is in June. Then they start getting shorter until they get back to even in the autumn. I know but it's perfect how the Most High set all this up. Even in the earth of sin, he puts some balance and beauty in the thing. So look, today's Passover. Now, what happens on Sunday? Something's going to happen this Sunday. What happens on Sunday? What happens on Sunday? Something happens on Sunday. What happens on Sunday, y'all? Something happens on Sunday. It's between them, Brother Lonnie. This particular year, Brother Lonnie's asking, is the first month March or April? It depends on when the first new moon is. This year, the first new moon was the 19th of March, because the moon phases tell you, Brother Lonnie. And the moon phase that comes after the equinox, this year it came on the equinox. That was March 19th. So that was the first month. That was the new year. March 19th. And really for us, it's the night. So it's the night of March 18th was the new year. 6 o'clock, March 18th was the new year. Okay. You got me, Brother Lon? Yeah, that's right. That's when you see the new moon. Right. So Odyssey has a good question. We used to do it, but since we're all in different places, we don't do it, or we haven't done it. We thought about doing it for our Memorial Day weekend, but when you have a lot of people trying to do it in one place, it could be an ordeal. But we used to do it. But yeah, that's right. So now, Castle King, you're good. I'm gonna wait. So what happens this Sunday? What happens this Sunday? Just as it is. No. What happens this Sunday? You remember Messiah when he wrote, in fact, let me give you all a hint. Let's take a look. Let's look at John, Gospel of John. No, not Easter. No, not Easter. Not Easter. That's pagan. We don't do that. But let's look at the Gospel of John. Let's look at the Gospel of John. Let's look at John. And let's go Gospel of John, chapter 20. Now, delivery boy, yes. Let's get it. Let's have everybody else catch up to you, delivery boy, because you're right. That's right. It's exactly. All right. So let's go John chapter 20. John chapter 20. Now Miriam is weeping at the altar. She's weeping at the tomb. Okay. She's concerned because she thinks somebody stole the body of the Messiah. So now this is John chapter 20. I'm going to begin at verse 15 and go down to verse 17. John chapter 20, verses 15 to 17. Okay. Yahushua said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, said unto him, Sir, if thou hast borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Yahushua says unto her, Miriam. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Yahushua said unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, to my God in your garden. Now, why did he tell her that? Why couldn't she touch him until he had ascended to his Father? And then he said he was going to meet him again. And later on, they could touch him. But right then, they couldn't touch him. Why not? Why couldn't they touch him? That's right. Brother Lonnie, it was the wave offering. Let's take a look. Let's look at Leviticus. Again, Leviticus. Actually, let's go to Deuteronomy for this one. Because even though it's unclear, the Messiah made certain things clear. Like Deuteronomy and Leviticus talk about the wave offering, but they're not clear on when they begin. When do you start counting those 49 days? But let's take a look at it in Leviticus chapter 16. Leviticus 16. I'm going to begin at verse. When he's finishing talking about the Passover, that's verse 5. Leviticus 16, verse 5, and let's read it down to verse 10. Okay, Leviticus chapter 16 from verse 5 to 10. Yep, Leviticus chapter 16, verse 5 to 10. Okay. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee. So you can't just do it anywhere, okay? But in the place which Yahweh thy Most High shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. Thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which Yahweh thy Most High shall choose. Now, we know later that became Jerusalem. Earlier, it was in Ephraim, okay? And thou shalt turn in the morning and go into thy tents. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. And on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Yahweh thy Most High. Thou shalt do no work therein. 7 weeks thou shalt number unto thee, and begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. Now, we don't know that. We ain't farmers, right? Then it says, and thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto Yahweh with a tribute of a freewill offering of thy hand, and thou shalt give unto Yahweh according as Yahweh hath blessed thee. So he said 7 weeks from the time the sickle meets the corn. But Messiah showed up there for Mary on the first day of the week, which was the day after the 7th day Sabbath. So we know it was Sunday. Does that make sense, y'all? And so they counted 7 Sabbaths, after Sunday, 7 Sabbaths. And on the 49th day, that Sunday was the day of Pentecost. Okay. Now some of these Christians start to think, well, that's why we keep Sunday holy, because you know it was Sunday that he rose. Well, he really rose 3 a.m. Saturday night. Now, this is the thing. In the Hebrew, there are 8 divisions of a day, a 24-hour day. Peter said, we're not drunk because it's the 3rd hour of the day in the book of Acts on the day of Pentecost. That's 9 o'clock. First is 6 a.m. First hour of the day, 6 a.m. 3rd hour of the day, 9 a.m. 6th hour of the day, noon. 9th hour of the day, 3. And then you go back to 6, and now you're in a new day. And then you start the first watch of the evening. First watch, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Second watch, 9 p.m. to midnight. Third watch, midnight to 3. Fourth watch, 3 to 6. If you recall, the Messiah was walking on the water in the 4th watch of the night. If you remember, the disciples saw him walking on the water. Let me see if I can find it. He was walking on the water in the 4th watch, which we know was between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., right? So he called it the 4th watch of the night. See here. Yes, it's Matthew 14:25. Matthew 14:25. I know we're getting all kind of seasons and numbers and stuff, right? But this is where he was walking on the water, verse 25, Matthew 14:25. And in the 4th watch of the night, that's between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. And it was dark because the sun hadn't risen yet. The 4th watch of the night, Messiah went unto them walking on the sea. So how do we know he rose at 3 a.m. on Saturday night? Well, he was crucified at 3 p.m. Okay, 3 p.m. on Wednesday. 3 hours later, it was Thursday. So now you go from Thursday at 6 p.m. to Friday at 6 p.m. That's one day. I'm sorry, from Wednesday at 6 p.m. to Thursday at 6 p.m. That's one day. From Thursday at 6 p.m. to Friday at 6 p.m. is 2 days. He said he's going to spend 3 days and 3 nights in the earth, right? From Friday 6 p.m. to Saturday 6 p.m. is 3 days. That's 3 days, 3 nights. But he didn't raise up at 6 p.m. Saturday night. The Bible says it was in the middle of the night because Miriam and them came before the breaking of the day that morning. That's when they came. So when did he raise up? So you have right there 3 days and 3 hours. So now you add 9 hours, you have 3 days and 12 hours. What does that equal? 3.5 days. 3.5 is a major number in the Bible. 3.5. It's in Daniel. It's in the book of Revelation, multiple places. 3.5. It's in the book of James. 3.5 is a major number. Okay. So 3.5 days later, he rose 3 a.m. He has to ascend to his Father. It's Sunday now, 3 a.m. He has to ascend to his Father. His sacrifice must be accepted. He's the wave offering. The sacrifice must be accepted. Okay? Then he comes back. Then 50 days later, it's Pentecost. Praise the Most High. Everybody got that? So now, that's how we know now is the Passover. Right now is the Passover. Okay? Yesterday at 6, I'm sorry, right now is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Daggone, I'm confusing everybody else. Sorry. Right now is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Yesterday at 6 was the Passover. The lamb was killed this afternoon at 3. Wednesday afternoon at 3, the lamb was killed. Tonight at 6, he was in the tomb. This coming Sunday at 3 a.m., he rose. And then he had his sacrifice accepted by his Father. Then you count 7 Sabbaths. Let me confuse you all some more. So this Sunday is the 5th of April. So you count 7 Sabbaths. That would be the 11th, 1, 18th, 2, 25th, 3, May 2nd, 4, May 9th, 5, May 16th, 6, May 23rd, 7. Ooh, y'all know what this means, right? Y'all know what this means. Let me count this again to make sure I'm not crazy. So today is the 1st. Sunday is when he rose. Okay? 3 a.m. So you count 7 Sabbaths. I'm looking at my April 2026 calendar. The first Sabbath is the 11th of April. The second Sabbath is the 18th of April. The third Sabbath is the 25th of April. The fourth Sabbath is the 2nd of May. The fifth Sabbath, the 9th of May. The 16th Sabbath, the 6th Sabbath, the 16th of May, and the 7th Sabbath, the 23rd of May. And many of us will be in Florida at the Memorial Day weekend, so that this year, Pentecost is sunset on the 23rd of May. Isn't that, wow, isn't that something? Memorial Day weekend, where we're going to be together, the 23rd at sunset is Pentecost. I praise the Most High, man. Praise the Most High. I'm looking at it right. So y'all check me, please. So next Shabbat, so first, this Sunday is when you start counting. That's the 5th. So the next Shabbat is the 11th, and you count 7 Shabbats, 49 days. That takes us to if I'm not mistaken, that takes us to the 23rd of May. Sunset on the 23rd of May is Pentecost. So you know what that means. We have to celebrate. We have to celebrate. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. It looks right. So thank you. Praise the Most High. So this year, we're going to get together at the Feast of Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks. Yes. And we're all going to be there. I mean, those of us that's going to be there. And we're going to celebrate. Superstar, Castle King, Sister Odyssey, Brother Lonnie, and Jillian. We're going to be there. Man, this is going to be a blessing. So now we understand that the feasts are on the full moon. Psalm 81, verse 3. Okay, feasts are on the full moon. 2 Chronicles 2:4. Feasts are on the full moon. Okay, the new months is the beginning of the new moon. That's the new moon. Okay, we understand that. So now, and it's important really because really you don't want to miss the proper time of the 7th month. Y'all understand that, right? You don't want to mess up the 7th month. So the first month started the night of March 18th, which is March 19th. So you want to go from there, you count 7 months. You're going to go sometime in September, I guess, right? And you got to look it up. And then you go September, the first month. And every year you're going to have a bunch of people telling them, we're keeping the Feast of Trumpets. But y'all understand, ain't no Feast of Trumpets. But you're going to see the trumpets on the 7th new moon. We just saw the first new moon was March 18th going on 19th. So now you're going to see the second new moon sometime in April, right? We're going to see the second new moon around 15th of April. And then maybe 16th, we'll see what the moon looks like. Y'all got to observe it. And that's the thing. The new moon's got to be observed. It ain't something that's like telescopes will tell you when the telescope sees it. But when the telescope see it, don't mean the human eye sees it. When the human eye see it, it's real. It's official. Okay? So when we see the crescent moon, it's going to be around the 15th or 16th of April. And that's the second month. Okay, then you go, we're going to go from there. Sometime in September or October, you're going to see the crescent moon of the 7th month, which is the trumpets. 10 days from that, which is not a new moon. 10 days from that is the Day of Atonement. And then the 15th, which is a new moon, the 7th month, the 7th month of full moon, The 7th month, the full moon is the Feast of Tabernacles. And we that's a very important date. Both of those dates are very important, especially as we're now going into the time period right before 2027. We want to make sure we understand where we're at. People that thinks that they think that today, they're looking at today and saying this is the new year. This is not the new year. This is the full moon. This is the feast. And the feast in the 7th month is also a full moon. Okay, so praise the Most High. Okay, so now we know why the feast is on a full moon, both especially the Passover and the Tabernacles. We know those are both full moons. Okay, we know those are both full moons. So we will see, and then we know now the night of the 23rd, September, 6 p.m., 23rd of May is going to mark Pentecost. Praise the Most High. Yeah, tonight's the full moon. So tonight's the 15th day of the first month. Tonight is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Tonight, praise the Most High. Tonight is it. Okay? Praise the Most High. I hope I didn't confuse y'all too much. I was trying to call myself making it clear, but by the grace, one thing I learned from all this, brethren, by the time we're standing on the sea of glass, all the Hebrews are going to be exactly on the same page. And the only way all of us stiff-necked, including myself, all of us stiff-necked Hebrews are going to get on the same page is by the Holy Spirit of the Father. That's the only way, right? That's how all of us stiff-necked Hebrews are going to. That's the only way we get on the same page. by the power of the Father Spirit. That's the only way. But we will be on the same page. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. But we try to stay sharp on it. Try to stay sharp on it so we keeping track of the time. Because the full moon, the moon's phases are signs in the heavens for us. Praise the Most High. Moon phases are signs in the heavens for us. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Praise the Most High. Yes, praise the Most High. Shalom, family.